Practice makes perfect or perfection. Is that a true statement? Have you questioned it? Do you believe it? If so, why do you believe it? Welcome to the Paul Cruz Show. I hope everyone's having a great day. Hope everyone had a very successful Thanksgiving day with family and friends. Before we dig into the topic, if you're listening to this or watching this podcast on YouTube, hit the subscription button below, give a thumbs up, and share it with others. Now, as I mentioned in my previous podcast and audio about working smarter, not harder, and how I debunked that euphemism. Well, this is another one that I really thought about for a long time. And I said, that doesn't make sense. Because if you ask yourself this question, does practice makes perfect? Well, it could make a perfect way of doing it wrong. Meaning practicing the wrong way will lead to the wrong results. Does that make sense? So practice doesn't always lead to perfection or makes perfection. The right practice leads to the right training, which will give you maybe not the perfect results, but it will give you the right outcome, the right results, because you're practicing and training the right way. In order to practice to have perfection that will lead to the right outcome and results, there's several things that need to take place. First, you got to have the right mindset. You got to develop the right attitude. You got to get used to taking right actions so that you can get the right results. But when you're able to develop that, and you have understanding, and you have the knowledge, and then you apply that knowledge, you must build the right foundation. Let me give you an analogy. And I use this a lot in my sales presentation because it makes sense. Let's say you wanted to build a custom home, and the first thing you want to do is you want to buy the land in the area that you want to build that house. Then what you got to make sure before you purchase the land, you got to make sure the title is not encumbered, right? Once you have all that, the next thing you want to do is you're going to have the blueprints of the house that you want built. So you're going to hire a general contractor. And once the general contractor starts to work, what is the very first thing they do? Is they start to break ground. Once they break ground, they start to put in the pipes, all the sewage, and the sewage. Once they do that, then they cement it. Once they have the cemented area, they start to put the frame of the house. So now they're framing it. Once the framing is completed, they start to put the exterior windows, the doors, etc., the roof. Once the house is built from the outside and it is solid on a strong foundation, then they start to work on the inside or the interior, laying down the floors, putting in the bathroom, putting in the kitchen sink, whatever the things need to be put inside the house, right? Once the house is completed and it passes inspection, what is the end result? You have a beautiful home. But that home has to be built on a strong foundation. So what I mean by that is, if you're doing it the right way and you're practicing the right way and you're building the right way, then you're going to be able to get and generate the right results, or what we call perfect practice leads to perfect results, or the right results. Nothing is ever 100% perfect, but you're talking about 95, 96%. Does that make sense? So one of the things I've learned, especially being in sales and being an entrepreneur and a business owner, I always do things based on a strong foundation. And the way you build a good way of training and practicing and building is you have to learn basic fundamentals. You have to understand how things work. Then you have to work smart at doing that, and then work hard at getting better at it so that you could practice the right way and then get the perfect results. And I'm going to give you this example again that I did in my previous podcast, in my previous video, is I was a former marathon runner. I was training for the Olympics. I was sitting state champion in high school in track and field. Now, when I was training for the New York City Marathon, I was the youngest finisher ever at 18 years old. Now, I ran hard. I gave it everything that I had. I ran 150 miles a week. I didn't have a coach. I tried to negotiate with Reebok to get a contract, but I didn't have that. But I wound up finishing the New York City Marathon, and I was training to represent either Puerto Rico, where my parents are from, or the United States in the Olympics. But what happened was I worked hard, I trained hard, but it wasn't the right training. So I wind up getting hurt. So the point is this. Another analogy, you could play golf. You could just go out there and start playing golf and get bad habits and have a good game once in a while. But if you're not practicing or doing the right techniques with the right muscle memory, there isn't a club out there that's going to change your game, because if your basic fundamentals or your foundation is weak and wrong, you're going to get the wrong results. Does that make sense? So if you think about the top athletes, entertainers, musicians, real estate moguls, business owners, whether it's Google, whether it's, Intel, Dell Computer, Apple, it doesn't matter. They build their business on a vision, and what they did is they did perfect practice in business. Does that make sense? So I don't buy into these euphemisms like, practice makes perfect. I always challenge those things. Why? Because if you don't challenge them and you're starting to say it, you don't even know why you're saying it, which means you think you're practicing and it's perfect, and then your results are wrong. But in your mind, you're saying something, but your actions are different. So always remember this. Whether you're in sales like I am, in business like I am, no matter what you do, always have perfect practice, the right practice, which will lead to the right outcome, the right results, all the perfect results that you're looking for. That's where a lot of entrepreneurs and startup businesses go wrong. Their vision is different than how they go about accomplishing that vision. Does that make sense? So what I encourage you to do is ask yourself this question, am I doing the right practice in my business or whatever you're doing and producing the right results? Or am I lacking the right practice, the right business model, the right strategy that's giving me the wrong results? Think about that, guys. Always keep it simple. Especially with social media and all this information that we're overloaded with. How do you know what's true or not? Anybody could write anything and think they're a professional, but they're not. So you have to know and understand what is the right preparation, the right training, the right business strategy, the right sales strategy, laying the right foundation on understanding and truth. So you could build a foundation so that you can, in the end, get the perfect or the right results. Does that make sense? Well, before we go, I want to thank all of you who have been following me on my social sites, commenting on my content, sharing my content. I hope you guys are absolutely applying what I'm showing you, because it does work. So again, if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, hit the subscription button below. If you like it, share your comments, and also share the podcast and the video with others. Till we speak again, I say goodbye. This is Paul Cruz with The Paul Cruz Show. And remember this, perfect practice leads to the perfect and right results. Have a very successful day. Bye for now.